All right, let's jump right into this explainer and learn how to see through corporate camouflage. If you're a student trying to navigate today's super complex marketplace, you're constantly bombarded with messages about sustainability, right? We all want to do our part, but how do you actually know if a brand is helping the planet or if they're just putting on a really good disguise? Well, today we are officially putting on our detective hats to unmask a concept called greenwashing. We'll be relying entirely on some fantastic source material from Work for Climate to guide our investigation.
So, think about this for a second. Have you ever been walking down the aisle, maybe grabbing a quick snack between classes, and you instinctively reach for the box with the earthy tones and that little cute leaf icon? Yeah, marketing teams know we want to make eco-friendly choices. They know we care. But sometimes that green packaging is hiding a very different reality, which is exactly what we're investigating today. Honestly, it's incredibly easy to be fooled when a brand is deliberately trying to make you feel good about your purchase.
To do this right, we're going to treat this source material like a true investigation. Here's our roadmap. We'll start by unpacking the green illusion, then formally defining greenwashing. After that, we'll dive into spotting the red flags, taking action, and finally, how to identify trustworthy brands.
Okay, starting with part 1, the green illusion. Let's look at how this corporate camouflage actually works.
The source points out this massive, honestly kind of wild illusion happening in the business world right now. It happens when a company completely fails to do what it promised to fight the climate crisis, but they still desperately want you to think they are. Just imagine a company pouring way more time, energy, and money into marketing their climate commitments than they actually put into making real physical changes to meet those goals. That is the illusion. They are literally selling you the idea of sustainability without doing any of the actual hard work.
Let's move on to part 2, defining greenwashing. Let's get a baseline for what this actually means.
Our source provides a very clear, formal definition. It's when a company purports to be environmentally conscious for marketing purposes, but actually isn't making any notable sustainability efforts. In simpler terms, it's false advertising. Plain and simple. It's a brand slapping a green label on their product just to get your money without doing the actual homework required to protect the planet.
And here is a prime example of this from our source material. And the contrast is pretty shocking. On one side, you have the slick marketing. A company calls itself Eco Investments LLC, or maybe they launch a green investments portfolio. Sounds amazing, right? But then you look at the reality on the other side. That exact same company is actually managing investments in the fossil fuel industry, or they're funding massive agribusinesses that cause global deforestation. The name of the product is completely disconnected from the harsh reality of where that money is actually going.
Which brings us perfectly to part 3, spotting the red flags. This is where you really need to pay attention to the clues.
Our very first major red flag is vague language. Trust me, you are going to see this everywhere once you start looking. If a company advertises a product simply as green or eco-friendly, but gives you absolutely zero specific details on what that actually means, your detective alarm bells should be ringing loudly. If they make a massive claim that sounds just way too good to be true and offer no evidence to back it up, yeah, they are likely hoping you just won't ask any follow-up questions.
Red flag number 2 is misleading nature imagery. This is basically the visual version of vague language. Watch out for brands slapping pictures of beautiful trees, the planet Earth, or pristine rivers on a product, basically as a distraction from what they're actually selling. If those images have absolutely nothing to do with the business's actual practices or their supply chain, it's a manipulation tactic. It's designed to make you feel like you're making an environmentally conscious choice when you aren't.
Red flag 3 is hiding information. This is classic misdirection. It's like a magician making you look at their left hand while the right hand does the trick. A company might loudly promote how environmentally friendly their delivery trucks are, but stay completely silent about their incredibly dirty manufacturing practices. Or they might boast about using recycled cardboard for packaging, but completely hide the reality of an unsustainable global supply chain. They show you one shiny green initiative while keeping the rest of the mess in the shadows.
Red flag 4 brings us to carbon offsetting illusions. Now, to be fair, carbon offsetting can be a legitimate tool. But, as our source points out, it is a huge red flag if a company heavily promotes its offsets while doing absolutely nothing to reduce its own actual emissions. Offsetting should never, ever be a free pass for a company to just keep polluting. If they aren't actively switching to renewable energy at their own facilities or cleaning up their own supply chain, those offsets are really just a distraction.
This next one is fascinating. Red flag 5, the man behind the curtain. As an informed student and consumer, you really have to investigate who actually runs and owns the brand. A company might claim to explore sustainable energy, but a quick check reveals a board member is actually the CEO of an oil company. Or you might find a cool small indie eco-business that is secretly wholly owned by a massive corporate parent company with terrible environmental practices. You always have to look at who is pulling the strings.
And our final red flag, fake recyclability. Oh, this one is incredibly common. A company prints a big, bold, recyclable or biodegradable symbol right on the box. But the catch is that recycling it requires a highly specific, special industrial process that is simply not available to the average consumer. Just because the box says recyclable doesn't mean it won't just end up sitting in a landfill if you don't have access to the exact right facility. It's technically true, but practically false.
So let's pull all of those clues together. Here is your ultimate climate detectives checklist. We're looking for vague eco-language, unrelated nature imagery, hidden supply chain info, offsetting without actual emission reductions, conflicting parent companies, and fake recyclability claims. If you spot one or more of these warning signs, the source tells us it's time to dig deeper. Don't just take the marketing at face value. Check and see if the company is actually trying to deceive you.
Okay, moving to part 4, taking action. What do we actually do with all this information?
The source material empowers you with a really clear step-by-step response plan. Steps 1 and 2, like we just discussed, are identifying the signs and doing your homework. But step 3 is where you actually use your voice. If you're a customer, call them out. Email them, call them, or post on social media to express your concerns. Tell them you want to buy their products, but only if they adopt true sustainability. And hey, if you're an employee at one of these companies, you can build a team of colleagues to politely articulate where the company is falling short and present a real case to decision makers demanding concrete net zero plans. In fact, the source material gives us this really powerful advice. It says, if you want your company to be doing more to put its words into action on climate, talk to your colleagues, build a team, and advocate for meaningful changes. For those of you studying right now and preparing to enter the workforce, this is huge. This quote highlights that pushing a company to actually live its values isn't just about complaining. It's your chance to step up, take initiative, and be a real climate leader right inside your organization.
Finally, part 5, building trustworthy brands. Let's look at what the good guys are actually doing.
This right here is what the gold standard looks like. We've seen what the illusion looks like on the left, right? Vague marketing buzzwords like green investments. But look over on the right. Trustworthy brands use specific, measurable data. Instead of just saying green, they say 90% of our investments are in renewable energy sources. They give you the actual numbers. They back up their claims with hard data, evidence, and third-party certifications. They don't want you to guess. They want to definitively prove it to you.
So if a company wants to be truly climate safe and safeguard against accidental or intentional greenwashing, they must follow these principles. Back claims with data. Compare like things fairly, meaning if they compare themselves to a competitor, it has to be a totally honest comparison. They need to infuse green practices at all levels of the business, not just the highly visible stuff. They must be radically honest and transparent about their current practices and their actual progress toward net zero. And most importantly, remove all that misleading marketing imagery. No more random forests on the side of a plastic box.
Which brings us to the end of our investigation. Now that you have the tools, the definitions, and the detective's checklist to unmask the green illusion, I want to leave you with this question. Are you ready to spot the greenwashing hiding in your next purchase? I challenge you, the very next time you're out shopping, or even researching a company you might want to work for after graduation, look closely at their claims. Use what you've learned in this explainer, hold those brands accountable, and demand real action. Catch you next time.